My training in a nutshell for Valencia is going to have a peak training volume of 180 kilometers. So good morning, welcome back to the channel. Today is day one of my 10-week training plan for Valencia Marathon. So today the start of a new series, the road to Valencia, hopefully documenting my training over the next 10 weeks in the build up to Valencia Marathon on the 4th of December. I ran my first marathon this year in a time of 2:28 in Copenhagen, and this time, we got the sights set on a 2:20 goal, which is ambitious, but I'm hoping with the next 10 weeks of hard work and graft I can get a lot closer to that 2:20 goal and hopefully break it in Valencia. Now with this series I plan to make weekly content, so weekly updates sharing my training, the key workouts, the lessons I've learned along the way. Today's video is going to be all about my training plan for the next 10 weeks. It's a plan that I've written myself. I'm self-coached, so I want to talk you through the training that I've set for myself and the reasons behind it, and just share with you as much information about the training that I've done and the learnings that I can take from it that hopefully you can apply to your own marathon builds. Just share the journey. If at any point you have any feedback for me on my training, feel free to leave it in comments and I'll get back to you. I'm very much new to this. It's only my second marathon. I'm not a running coach, but yeah, I have self-coached myself for the last 3 years, so I've sort of learned what my body adapts well to, how to get marathon fit. So I feel like I'm in good hands as my own coach, but only time will tell. I'm also really pleased to announce that this YouTube series, following the next 10 weeks of training, is sponsored and partnered up with Coros, the watches, and Soar Running. I've chosen to work with these guys basically because they're simply the best, the leaders in the running market for the products they provide. So the Coros Pace 2 is my watch of choice. It's the watch used by Eliud Kipchoge. If it's good enough for him, it's certainly good enough for me. I'll talk you through some of the features of why it's such a great watch throughout this series. And Soar Running are a super high quality, the best running clothing that I've ever tried, period. Designed in London. They make great training gear that I'm wearing today, but also incredible race day kit. I used them for my marathon, my first marathon in Copenhagen, and yes, just the kit that I can rely on throughout this training block. So I'm super thankful for those sponsors for getting on board to help bring you this training series for the next 10 weeks in the build to Valencia. So today is day one of this training block, the 10-week training block for Valencia. Last week I had a nice easy recovery week after my last race, which was the Copenhagen Half Marathon. The race itself went incredible, secured a new PB, so I just wanted to make sure I had a week off to make sure I was fresh, not only physically but mentally going into a new training block. The next 10 weeks is going to be a lot of hard work. Going to reach training volumes that I've never reached before. Got goals of peaking at 180 kilometers in week 6, 7 and 8, but this morning just out on a 15-kilometer easy run to start the week. My training sort of follows 3 hard days of training and 4 easy days. So Monday being an easy day, Tuesday a hard day, Wednesday easy, Thursday hard, Friday, Saturday easy, and the Sunday long run hard. So 3 hard days and 4 easy days. Good balance of training, following that almost that 80-20% rule, 80% easy runs, 20% good quality speed sessions. So when we get back to the house, I'll talk you through how I wrote my own training plan and the key workouts in this training block. So here is my training plan. 10 weeks of training for the Valencia Marathon. Now this is something that took me probably around 3 or 4 hours to write. It's all written in pencil. It's planned on a weekly basis. Along the top here we have the days of the week. Rather than just go straight in to how I plan to train for Valencia, I thought I would give you 5 steps that you can apply to writing your own training plans. The first thing I'd like to do is work out the number of weeks I have before my key race. So I come up with a little graph that looks something like this. Along the side here we've got distance, and along the bottom we've got the number of weeks. So a 10-week training plan for Valencia, and this graph here is my overall volume. Step number 2 is to plan this weekly volume. Here along the side we've got distance. So I like to think back to training plans that I've done. So for example, when I ran Copenhagen Marathon, my peak training was 160 kilometers. So for Valencia, I'd like to run a little bit faster, so I understand I'm probably going to need to do a little bit more training and more volume than I did previously. So I've figured out the sort of peak training volume that I would like to run, and for Valencia that will be a 3-week peak of around 180 kilometers. Here you can see this peak at week number 4, 5 and 6. That's when I plan to do my peak training volume, and I sort of work backwards from that peak. So for example, here we have a slow build up to week number 4, which is when I would plan to hit my peak volume, and then from week 6 or 7 I like to start my taper down towards the race day. So once you've got your overall training volume penciled in, I like to come up with a training plan that looks a little bit like this. I write it all in pencil. I'm a believer in sort of moving things around if you feel the need to. For example, if you're feeling absolutely knackered and you come to a big key session, rather than do that session, maybe just move that to the next day, or maybe even 2 days. So yeah, I write it all in pencil just so I can change things along the way. So step number 3 for me is this top bit here. Work out what days are best for you. Work out when you're going to be able to do your long runs, when's good to do marathon sessions. So for example, if Monday you've got a really busy day at work, that's not the day you want to be trying to fit in a 2-hour long run. So for me, Monday is an easy day. Like to start the week nice and easy. Tuesday are going to be my double threshold days, so a hard training day. I usually train with my track team, Chelmsford AC, on Tuesday, so I like to have my second workout of the day at the track, and I know I can train with some people often. Wednesday I have a proper easy recovery day. Thursday I have my marathon pace sessions, so these are my big bulky sessions for the week, slightly slower than my Tuesday sessions, focusing on that marathon pace, which for Valencia will be 2:20 per kilometre. And then Friday and Saturday I have easy days, and my long runs on Sundays. So just figure out a weekly structure that's going to work for you. Step number 4 is to plan the hard days of training, and then you can fill in the gaps with your easy days. So this is how my training plan looks. I've got a little bit of a colour code going on here. The yellow days are my hard days, so Tuesday, Thursday and Sunday. I plan these days first, and then I fill in the gaps with my easy days, which are here in green on Monday, Friday and Saturday, and then I have my recovery run day on a Wednesday in between those sessions, just to make sure I'm nice and fresh. So yeah, you want to start with the hard days, plan in your sessions. These are sessions that I've done from experience. I've also spoken to other people that have run marathons and run marathons well, and asked them for some key sessions. So I like to plan those into my training first. So once you've got all these hard days planned in, you want to fill in the gaps with the easy runs. Now this is where you can look back at your overall training volume, go back to your mileage or the number of kilometers you like to run per week. I run in kilometers, by the way. I started running when I was living in Sweden, so I like to think of myself as a bit of a European runner. Apologies if you have to do the conversions. But yeah, down the outside here, so I've got week 1 all the way to week 10, and in pen I've actually got the volume. So for example, in week 1 140 kilometers, week 2 150 kilometers, and week 3 is 160 kilometers. So once I've got all the hard days planned in, my final step is just to fill in the gaps with easy runs to make up that overall training volume. So that's how I like to do my training plans. I'll leave this up on screen for a second, so you're welcome to have a little look at some of the sessions I'm going to be doing in the next 10 weeks. I won't go into them in too much detail because I probably could sit here for about 20-30 minutes going over every single session. My training in a nutshell for Valencia is going to have a peak training volume of 180 kilometers, 20 kilometers more than I've ever ran per week. I think my highest ever weekly training volume is around 165, 170 kilometers. For those of you who run in miles, I think that's around 100 to 110 miles per week. So quite a big training volume. As a runner myself, I know that I benefit from sort of higher mileage and sort of lower intensity sessions. Some people may be completely different, but that's just what I've learned from previous training blocks. Tuesday and Thursday are my session days. So Tuesday is going to be double thresholds. I typically do 30 minutes of threshold in the morning, followed by 30 minutes of threshold in the evening. Thursday is going to be my marathon pace sessions. This is something that I sort of neglected a little bit in my first marathon build. So I'm going to make sure I do some big sessions, hitting that marathon pace, get a feel for it, get used to running at that 3:20 per kilometre, which is my goal pace for Valencia. And then my Sunday long runs, basically going to be done on feel. If I'm feeling fresh, I'm going to sort of do them as progression runs. If I'm not feeling so fresh, they'll just be in that zone 2. And they again slowly build over the training block, starting at 28 kilometers all the way up to 36 kilometers in weeks 5 and 6. So that's a little bit about my training. I hope you've enjoyed this insight. Next week I plan to film my big marathon session, which will be 5 times 2k 1k with 1k float. See how that goes. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Again, thank you to Soar and Koros for being the sponsors on board of this series. There's going to be a weekly upload for the next 10 weeks about my training. If you have any questions, comments and feedback for me, then I would love it if you could post it in the comments. If you're currently training for a marathon, I wish you the best of luck. If you recently ran London, I hope it went well for you. But until next time, aspire to run, run to inspire, and we'll see you again soon.